Just like the PayPal Mafia transformed Silicon Valley after the dot-com bust of 2001, giving rise to some of America's most innovative startups, the Flipkart Mafia, comprised of enterprising former Flipkart employees, has transformed India's startup ecosystem. And full disclosure here, we did not come up with that term. Just Google Flipkart Mafia and you'll see that people have been talking about this group for years. In fact, as of 2017, more than 200 companies had been created by Flipsters. And that number is likely significantly higher at the time of us filming this video in 2021, which is why we wanted to highlight some of the most noteworthy and successful startups that have been created by the Flipkart Mafia, coming up right after this. Starting things off at number 10, we have the only startup on this list that isn't Indian, although it was created by Indians in California, Suki. Founded by former Flipkart Chief Product Officer Puni Soni, along with Anshu, Sharma, and Karthik Rajan in 2017, Suki is an AI-powered voice-enabled digital assistant that helps doctors to expedite the process of completing administrative tasks so that they have more time for their patients. Doctors in the United States spend twice as much time filling out electronic health records than they do with their patients, and so Suki's primary goal is to change that. This digital assistant takes notes, fills out electronic health records, schedules appointments, retrieves patient medical history, and even recommends medicine dosages and refills. The startup was featured in Fast Company's list of the 10 most innovative health companies of 2020, and so far, they've raised $40 million from their investors in order to continue making American healthcare more patient-oriented. Next up at number 9, we have a Bengaluru-based bookkeeping app called OkCredit, which was founded by former Flipkart employees Gaurav Kumar and Harsh Bokarna, along with their college friend Aditya Prasad. And before founding the company, they were regularly buying groceries at their local kirana shop on credit. These accounts were recorded in a physical notebook, which they realized was a very popular and also very antiquated way of bookkeeping that was ripe for disruption. In 2016, they onboarded their local kirana shopkeeper as their first customer, and their user base has been growing ever since. OkCredit is now used by 23 million small and medium-sized businesses across India and has expanded their offerings to include a digital storefront builder and a staff attendance and salary tracker. They've been able to build these additions in part thanks to the help of their investors, who so far have pumped $84.2 million into the startup. Moving on to number 8 now, we have Bengaluru-based dockless scooter rental startup Vogo, which was founded by Flipster Anand Ayyadurai along with Padmanabhan Balakrishnan and Sanchit Mittal in 2015. But Anand's entrepreneurial journey actually began while he was working at Flipkart. He was put in charge of launching televisions on the platform despite the fact that he knew nothing about televisions or e-commerce for that matter. By working hard and thinking outside of the box though, he was able to do it successfully. And this experience gave him the confidence to start Vogo with his co-founders in 2015 with the goal of providing Indians with affordable, accessible, and convenient self-transportation. Today, Vogo scooters have completed 10 million rides, and the company is now working on electrifying their fleet with the help of their investors, who have pumped $180 million into the startup so far. Coming in at number 7 now, we have Bengaluru-based fintech startup Slice, which was founded by former Flipkart employee Rajan along with Deepak Malhotra in 2016. See, in India, you usually need to be employed before the bank will trust you enough to give you a credit card. But the problem is that by that point, the years which you should have spent learning how to use a credit card responsibly under the supervision of your parents has been wasted. Which is why Slice launched a credit card for millennials in 2019 with no annual charges, no joining fees, and no hidden costs, which has enabled them to onboard more than 350,000 customers, and they plan to increase that number to 1 million customers by the end of this financial year. To do this, they've embraced the support of investors who have pumped $73.7 million into Slice so far. Next up at number 6, we have Gurugram-based omni-channel used car retail platform Spinny, which was founded by Flipster Mohit Gupta along with Naraj Singh and Ramanshu Mahor in 2015, and one way in which Spinny stands out is their next-day shipping, which isn't a big deal for small items like electronics or clothing, but we're talking about cars here. Many used car marketplaces deemed this kind of delivery speed impossible before Spinny showed up. But because Mohit Gupta was the Associate Director of Delivery Operations at Flipkart, where he handled same-day and next-day shipping, Spinny is able to do this flawlessly. Spinny is currently operating across 8 Indian cities, and they plan to expand to 7 more in the next couple of months using the funds that they've raised from their investors, who so far have pumped $230.5 million into the startup. Moving on to number 5 now, we have Bengaluru-based fintech startup Navi Technologies. After selling his 5.5% stake in Flipkart for $1 billion, Sachin Bansal, one of the company's founders, decided to start something new with former Bank of America director Ankit Agarwal in 2018. The goal of Navi Technologies is to revolutionize India's banking, financial services, and insurance industry. And they're doing this very quickly through an inorganic growth strategy that relies heavily on acquisitions. Since 2018, they've acquired 4 different companies, mainly by tapping Sachin Bansal's personal fortune, and these acquisitions have enabled them to rapidly launch lending and insurance products like Navi FinServe, Navi General Insurance, and Navi Mutual Fund. So far, Navi Technologies has raised $583 million, some of which has come directly out of Sachin's pocket and some of which has been raised from external investors. Coming in at number 4 now, we have Bengaluru-based online investment platform Groww. All of Groww's founders are former Flipkart employees. There's Harsh Jain, Ishan Bansal, Lalit Keshre, and Niraj Singh, and in 2016, they identified a massive opportunity in the fact that only about 1/10 of the people in India who had investable income were actually investing it. To change that, they launched a mutual funds awareness campaign and embraced technology like UPI and eKYC to make investing easy and stress-free for their customers. And these innovations paid off. Groww now has 15 million customers and became a unicorn in 2021. They also recently bought a 21-year-old financial services company called Indiabulls, which is an acquisition that they were able to afford thanks to their investors, who so far have pumped $140 million into the startup. Next up at number 3, we have Bengaluru-based health and fitness startup Cure.Fit. Flipkart's former chief business officer Ankit Nagori started Cure.Fit along with serial entrepreneur and former Flipkart head of commerce and advertising Mukesh Bansal. Ankit and Mukesh both share a passion for fitness, and they felt that in 2016, this was a passion that they could turn into a brand and sell to Indian people in the form of clean, professional, well-equipped fitness centers. Of course, when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, all of Cure.Fit's more than 130 centers were shut down, which resulted in the company adopting an omni-channel model where they offer personalized online fitness training. Now, as a loss-making company, the pandemic may have been the end of Cure.Fit if it weren't for their investors, who so far have pumped $480 million into the startup. Moving on to number 2 now, we have Bengaluru-based digital payment startup PhonePe. Back in 2011, Flipkart acquired a startup that connected music publishers with music producers called Mime360 in an effort to build Flight, Flipkart's own music streaming service similar to iTunes. Mime360's founders, Samir Nigam, Rahul Chari, and Borzan Engineer, were acqui-hired in this deal. But unfortunately, Flipkart shut Flight down in 2015, prompting Mime360's founders to start something new, PhonePe, a UPI-based payments platform that Flipkart actually acquired before it was even launched. See, Flipkart had also unsuccessfully tried to launch a payment gateway called PayZippy, and they felt that PhonePe succeeded where PayZippy had failed. Since its launch in 2016, PhonePe has become India's market leader in UPI transactions, and as a separate entity from Flipkart, it's currently valued at $5.5 billion. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Bengaluru-based B2B e-commerce unicorn Udaan, which is another one of those startups where all of the founders are ex-Flipkart. There's Amod Malviya, Flipkart's former CTO, Sujit Kumar, who handled operations, and Vaibhav Gupta, who was in charge of products, business finance, and analytics. Together, they decided to do in the B2B space what Flipkart had done in the B2C space by launching an e-commerce platform for traders, wholesalers, and retailers in 2017. Just 1 year later, Udaan had achieved unicorn status, and today, Udaan offers a catalog of 500,000 products, and they facilitate more than 4.5 million transactions every month. Of course, one of the reasons why they've been able to build such an extensive network in such a short span of time is because of their investors, who so far have pumped $1.2 billion into Udaan so far. Alright, those were our picks for the top 10 startups that were created by the Flipkart Mafia. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, it would mean a lot to us if you could hit the like button. And if you haven't already subscribed, we post new videos every single week about Indian startups, entrepreneurs, and the latest news. Also, you can check us out on Instagram. We post there pretty regularly, and we also have a Hindi channel as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Backstage with Millionaires, and I will see you in the next one.